Welcome to the first edition of SDSU-Tube. We're not copywriting anything, it's the U at the end of SDSU for University-Tube. It's going to be our weekly video blog on Jackrabbit Athletics. I'm David Brown, the producer of Jackrabbit Journal, with the host of Jackrabbit Journal, Thomas, I forgot your middle name, Nieman. Thomas Wilfred Nieman. But Thomas Wilfred, football season is finally here, and the Jacks come into this season with some pretty high expectations. They do.
I've got them down at 10-2. It would be the most wins they've ever had.
Already making schedule predictions.
I think they're going to win at Northern Iowa. I think they're going to lose that game with North Dakota State. They're going to lose against Missouri in the season opener, but I think they can win all the rest of those games. So expectations are very high because they've won 9 games in the last 2 years, the last 2 consecutive seasons. They've been in the playoffs the last 2 years with those 9 wins. I think they go one more step this year. Why not? They've got great returners coming back on offense.
And speaking of that, Sumner, Schneider, and Zenner, quite the trio at quarterback, wide receiver, and running back. How good can they be this season?
I mean, you listen to Eric Eidsness and Austin Sumner. They're going to give you the coach and the quarterback line about we've got all the tools to get it done, and they really do because they can go balanced, totally balanced. Eric Eidsness has thrown out numbers from last year through 8 games. The difference between runs and passes was about 25 apart, and they want to keep that almost even this year. Get Zach Zenner the football. They might not run him 30 times a game. They might throw it to him a little more, but we'll see on that. But they do. They've got the best quarterback statistically coming back in the Missouri Valley. They've got Zach Zenner, who's run for 2,000 yards the last 2 years. They've got Jason Schneider, who led the Missouri Valley in receptions last year. They got Cam Jones back at tight end. They're going to put a fullback in the backfield this year, and it's really no different from what they've done in the last 2 years where they've had a tight end come in and block as a fullback. But this year they're having the fullbacks as an actual fullback position where they practice with the offensive backfield instead of a tight end who goes and works out with the tight ends and the receivers. It's more of a focus on this fullback being a blocker. So that should enhance the running game even more for Zach Zenner, but the offense should be outstanding.
But the biggest question probably is that offensive line. Trevor Greger's probably the only one with real significant experience back on that line. Is that going to be their Achilles heel if there is one this year on offense?
You never know. They've kind of been piecing that line together in the last few years because of injuries and everything else. But without Brian Witzman and without Alex Parker on that left side, they obviously lose a lot. But it sounds like they're going to have a redshirt freshman starting at center. They're going to have some guys that played a little bit in the last couple of years to go along with Trevor Greger. But Nick Carr, Purcell, some of these new kids are going to have to obviously step on the offensive line, and they've kind of been doing that, the Jacks, in the last 2 seasons, and it's been successful, so we'll see.
Switching things to the other side of the ball, the defense, obviously they lost a lot on the line specifically, and they got a big loss early in the preseason. Charles Elmore went down with an injury, and he's out for the year. How big a blow is that to that linebacking core? Or are they good with Lally and the rest of those guys?
Yeah, they are, but Elmore was a real good playmaker for them, so I think that's a huge loss at linebacker. But TJ Lally is back for his 4th year now. He's a junior this year after that redshirt season, and he's very good. They're going to have a couple other guys that are pretty young, though. Jesse Bobbitt played some last year on special teams on linebacker. They got Tom Pites. They got one of the Browns at linebacker. So Lally's going to be solid, but that's one of the positions, the linebackers and the defensive line, where they don't feel real comfortable right now. They think the secondary is going to be the strong point to start this season, even though they lost Winston Wright, who's getting a tryout in the NFL right now. But Jerian Butler, Jimmy Forsyth at the corners, and then Jake Gentile and Melvin Tavares most likely at the safety spots. They feel like they've got a lot of depth in the defensive backfield, so they feel good about that.
But the line, obviously, probably the biggest issue. But Cole Langer, the Del Rapids kid, he's going to the line, which is funny because he never played on the line in high school, but he's a big boy, and they're going to need him to provide some power up front.
Yeah, he laughs about that because at Del Rapids High School, played running back, and he said he misses playing running back.
He wants to get in for a couple goal line carries.
We might actually see that this year. Well, they've been actually talking to him about maybe getting in the offensive backfield. We'll see with Cole Langer.
Refrigerator period.
It would be very cool. He weighs about 285 this year. But Langer's going to be solid. Jack Sherlock is very good at one of the defensive ends. Austin LeBlance is back, who has some experience on the defensive front. But J.R. Plody played a little bit there last year, and they're going to need one more, at least 1 or 2 or 3 more guys that didn't get a lot of time last year on that defensive line to make some plays this year.
So we've looked at the offense and defense. Now we'll look to the season ahead. Mizzou, big SEC opponent this Saturday. Head coach John Stiglmeyer has repeatedly said this is the biggest challenge his team has faced thus far. Do you agree with him?
Just based on what Missouri did last year, they were 12-2 last year. They beat Georgia, they beat Florida, they beat Johnny Manziel and Texas A&M. They won the Cotton Bowl. They lost a lot of what they had last year. Their leading passer is gone. Their leading running back is trying to make it in the NFL now with the Philadelphia Eagles. Their leading receiver is gone. He's in the NFL as well. So they don't have a lot coming back from that 12-2 season, but just on what they did last year, it probably is the biggest challenge. Maybe this team is better this year. Missouri's number 24 in the nation coming into this game. Better than Kansas that the Jackrabbits have played. Probably better than the Nebraska teams that the Jacks have played recently. So, it's probably the biggest challenge the Jacks have had.
Is it better to have this challenge early in the year? Because I remember Stig and the players kind of complained that the Nebraska game was in week 4 last year and sort of threw a wrench in things. And that actually started their downfall mid-season when they lost 4 of 5. But is it good to get this Mizzou game just sort of out of the way now?
Yeah, don't you think so? I mean, just get it done right away. Get your big check, get back, and then get started on preparing for the rest of the season and getting into the Missouri Valley. So, yeah, it's a great opportunity. The Missouri Stadium holds about 71,000. They got about 60,000 for their preseason games last year, so it's going to be a big, loud crowd down there. And we'll see how the Jacks line up, but to a man, the Jacks say, we're looking forward to seeing how we stack up. Doesn't mean anything if they get beat by 40 or if they get beat by 10 or if they win the game. Yeah. So, but it's a great opportunity and it's a good payday.
Well, we will be with the Jacks all season long. Jackrabbit Journal debuts this Wednesday, August 27th at 8 p.m. right here on Midco Sports Network. And we'll be doing these weekly blogs every week, getting you ready for the week ahead. For Tom Nieman, I am David Brown, and we'll see you next time.